To segue up from your conversation or your comments about heteronormity and masculinity, one of the clips we reacted to you, Jordan, on the Young Turks was kind of your discussion around whether or not Imane Khalif should be allowed to compete in the women's boxing, in the Olympics, and a lot of people joined into the chorus of hateful rhetoric. Obviously, Imane Khalif, or is it?
I think it's Amani.
Amani Khalif, excuse me, I apologize.
Wow.
She is a biological woman. She is not a trans woman. Many people slandered her as such, called her a man, said that she shouldn't be competing. And she has now since returned with a lawsuit. So J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk both named in the Imane Khalif cyberbullying lawsuit. The Algerian Olympic boxer files criminal complaint in France against X over alleged cyber harassment. And I think it's important for everybody to know right off the bat that this lawsuit wasn't filed in America, because she would probably have 0% chance of success in America. But I think given the fact that in Europe, the libel and slander laws are a lot more easier, or a lot more easily, like, kind of, I don't know, like exploited. I don't know what the word is, but she basically has a far better shot at winning. She was clearly defamed. She was clearly, slandered by these individuals.
And J.K. Rowling lives in England, so potentially that could really become an issue for her. Apparently, she hasn't tweeted in like 8 days now. For a while, she was really jumping on this bandwagon of like, a woman just got beat up by a man on television at the Olympics, and just straight up slanderous stuff. Not only accusing Amani of being a man or a trans person, but also of domestic violence, or not domestic violence, but of violence against women. This is literally a J.K. Rowling tweet, a picture of Imane Khalif boxing, and says the Olympics just televised violence against women. So that's two straight up slanderous allegations. I have no idea what will actually come of this, but yeah, do you guys think that there's a chance J.K. Rowling actually has to like pay out this boxer Imane Khalif?
Ooh, I don't know. I know you mentioned she lives in England, so probably a different set of guidelines there versus the EU. But European laws in general are more stricter and more sensible on this kind of stuff. So I would hope so. I wasn't on that segment that was John Idarola, but I watched some of it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We all look alike. It was that story when it first started to come out. I saw, unfortunately, a ton of right-wing tweets, and that just how the platform and the algorithm works now, I guess. And it took me like a day to actually get the full story. So first I saw it was reported that she was like asexual or something like that. And I didn't know like the full picture for like another day. And just that problem alone illustrates how bad the discourse has gotten on trans rights. This is not somebody who's trans. This is somebody who's just a biological woman who's really good at her sport. And they see every opportunity on the right to exploit everything. And it seems like an extension of like the trans investigations, where anybody who has like a defined jawline that's a woman is somehow a man. And it's reckless and it's harmful. And you see how this kind of misinformation gets peddled and amplified by people like Elon Musk. It's totally reckless, and people have pointed out, and I'm sure you both have talked about it, that would put her in great danger in her own country if that narrative were to continue to spread and people were to continue to believe these lies. So it's horrifying. And he continues to do this. He hasn't faced any repercussions. He's been able to throw his money around to silence organizations who independently are tasked with enforcing even just a broad set of standards for accuracy in content on social media or responsible advertising policies. Like, he's gone after Media Matters. He's gone after that network of advertisers. I don't know what will come of it with the EU. Maybe they'll just kill the platform on that continent, which would be bad for them, but I wouldn't put it past him to be responsible for another bad business decision.
Yeah. I think it's crazy. Obviously, I hope he pays out the ass. I think it's really, it marks a moment in the trans hysteria, right? The LGBTQ hysteria, where they've run out of actual trans people to be afraid of. They've realized that it doesn't meaningfully impact anyone's life. They don't have any reason to think about it constantly. most people, if know a trans person, that trans person's completely normal, no reason to be afraid of them, right? So they have to come up with, oh my gosh, look at this trans woman that's beating up all the women in the Olympics. And then like 5 clicks later, like, this isn't a trans woman. This is just a woman who's really good at boxing, and you're angry because she has a, a masculine build. Okay, well, she's a fucking Olympic boxer. What the hell do you expect? Like, go watch the Greco-Roman women's wrestling. Those ladies are built too. That's because they work out constantly, and this is their entire life's work. It's like, yeah, dude, that's what will happen to the biological body of a male or female if you spend your whole life in the gym picking up heavy objects and running as fast as you can. Yeah, you're going to get shredded. You know what I mean? You're not going to be like a round, curvy daffodil, and it threatens their idea of what, femininity is and womanhood is. And it's like, oh, I can't dominate this person, so therefore they're not a woman. It kind of gets into some weird territory.
Absolutely. That's a good point. I like boxing. I didn't watch, admittedly, as much Olympic boxing this year, but
It kind of made it.
I love the sport. What's that?
Oh, the scheduling for Olympic boxing. I also kind of had a similar thing. It was just weird scheduling. They weren't running as many reruns of it. You had to kind of do your homework to find out when it was going to be on, but go on.
Right. No, yeah, I typically would watch like the recaps on NBC at night, and that was all gymnastics, swimming, and track. The sports that we excel in.
Right.
So I like it. But yeah, to your point, you are going to have, if you are a boxer, you're going to have just a crazy back, neck, shoulders, arms, and jaw, because you have to build up your jaw strength so you don't get knocked out. It's part of the sport. So it kind of is manufactured in a lab as like the perfect conduit for this bullshit freak out by nature of like how they train themselves. So I could imagine if this hysteria continues, which I'd imagine it will, we'll see it every cycle. Every Olympics, we'll see the same thing. They'll pick some person from a country that they couldn't identify on a map and just be like, that person's trans, and that's it.
Yeah. It's also hilariously ironic because obviously people like J.K. Rowling claim that their big problem with the trans movement isn't trans people, but it's actually the inherent misogyny in the trans movement, right? And what has this whole thing devolved into but just rank misogyny, looking at this lady who doesn't, I guess, look traditionally feminine, and now publicly crucifying her and making her the number one enemy of your stupid ideology and your rancid, putrid, bigoted perspective. It's crazy. And I think that, I'm hoping that, although it's tragic for Amani Khalif that she had to go through this, I am hoping that this incident will represent somewhat of a wake-up call to the general public and will incur a significant backlash on the TERF movement when people realize that they've been duped by a bunch of manipulative, hateful bigots that just want to stir up outrage and further divide society over culture war nonsense.